February 20th, 1944. 26,000 feet over central Germany. The sky is a maze of vapor trails, burning engines, and desperate radio calls. Below, the earth is a blur of snow-covered fields. Above, a formation of B-17 shudders under the weight of rising flak. And then, just ahead of the bombers, 3 dots appear. For a moment, Luftwaffe pilots assume it's just another German patrol returning to base, but the shapes grow sharper, sleeker, faster. The silhouette is unmistakable, yet impossible. P-51 Mustangs. This deep? Oberleutnant Franz Stiegler, flying a Bf-109G, tilts his head in disbelief. No American fighter has ever made it this far intact. Not over Braunschweig. Not this deep behind the Reich's defensive curtain. He lowers his goggles, muttering into the oxygen mask, "Das ist nicht möglich." This is not possible, but it is. The Mustangs scream past the bombers like silver phantoms, sunlight flashing off their canopies. And each one carries something new, something the Luftwaffe was not prepared for. A pair of 75-gallon drop tanks, long range, longer reach, longer death for the Luftwaffe. These tanks, simple, light, and built from little more than stamped metal and improvisation, have rewritten the rules of the air war, and very few outside a cramped workshop in Ohio understand just how unlikely they were to exist. Shift the camera. Fade in on a dim, oil-stained hangar at Wright Field. Months earlier, George Pete McCoy, a quiet engineer with a stubborn streak and an instinct for practical miracles, leans over a crude prototype tank. Around him, a handful of mechanics and sheet metal workers argue over valves, seams, and pressure tolerances. McCoy ignores them all. He's focused on one idea. Build a tank so cheap, so easy to replace, that pilots can simply throw it away in flight. Commanders doubt him. The Army Air Force's procurement board laughs at the concept. Brass insists the Mustang is already good enough. But bomber crews dying by the thousands don't have time for bureaucracy. What no one realizes yet is that these odd, tinny cylinders will soon push the Mustang's range into the heart of Hitler's empire. And today, on the mission codenamed Operation Argument, the Luftwaffe is learning that lesson the hard way. Stiegler watches the Mustangs dive, turning the tables on his squadron. The hunter becomes the hunted in a heartbeat. Mustangs, here? One German pilot gasps over the radio. Stiegler doesn't answer. He's too busy trying to survive. And as the first tracers streak past his canopy, one truth becomes painfully clear. Germany has just lost control of the skies, type continue for Section 2. Hours later, after the mission concludes, the smoke of burning aircraft still hangs over the frozen countryside of central Germany. Inside a dim Luftwaffe operations hut, pilots limp in, faces grey with exhaustion, flight suits smelling of fuel and burned rubber. Some drop onto benches silently. Others stare at the floor as if trying to process what they saw. A junior officer finally breaks the silence. "Herr Hauptmann, how did Mustangs reach us at Leipzig?" No one answers, because no one knows. For over a year, Luftwaffe strategy has been built on one assumption. American escort fighters could not protect bombers all the way to their targets. It was the last advantage Germany believed it held. But the drop tanks, those ugly, rattling cylinders McCoy's team hammered together with hand tools, have just shattered that belief. Cut to Wright Field, Ohio. Months earlier, McCoy stands before a table of skeptical officers. His shirt sleeves are rolled up, grease on his forearms. Beside him rests the prototype, a simple stamped metal tank with cheap fittings and a thin aluminum skin. "This will extend escort range by hundreds of miles," he says plainly. One colonel snorts. "Looks like a beer keg with wings." McCoy doesn't smile. "Sir, it doesn't have to look good. It just has to get our boys home." The room goes quiet, because deep down, every man there knows the bomber crews are fighting a losing battle. By early 1944, mission survival rates over Germany have dropped so low that gunners joke grimly about writing their wills onto the backs of their gloves. The drop tank is approved, not because the brass suddenly understands McCoy's vision, but because they have no choice left. Factories across the country begin stamping them out by the thousands. The P-51's Merlin engine, already a masterpiece of high-altitude performance, finally has the fuel it needs to reach Berlin and come back. And in German command centers, the realization spreads like cold poison. There is now no safe airfield, no safe factory, no safe route for fighters to regroup. The Reich's air defense strategy, once so feared, has been outflanked by a simple metal cylinder. Back to Germany. Evening briefing room. A Luftwaffe intelligence officer pins a map to the wall. Red strings stretch from England deep into the heart of the Reich, longer than ever before. The Americans now escort from start to finish, he mutters, every mission. A young pilot whispers, almost to himself, "Then how do we stop them?" The officer hesitates. For the first time, no one has an answer, because the truth is brutal. The Luftwaffe is running out of fuel, running out of veteran pilots, running out of time, and the Mustangs, those fast, relentless, long-legged hunters, aren't just escorting bombers. They're tearing apart the Luftwaffe itself, one squadron at a time, one ace at a time, one strategy at a time. This is the moment historians quietly agree on. The air war over Europe ends not with a battle, but with a realization, a terrifying, irreversible realization. Germany cannot win in the skies anymore. Not against the Mustang, not against the Merlin engine, not against McCoy's drop tanks, not against a tide of innovation that no amount of bravery or skill can stop. Fade out on a single P-51, cruising above the clouds, drop tanks empty, mission complete, silhouetted against the late-day sun, a machine built for one purpose: to reach the enemy's heart and bring its pilots home alive.